first of all, thanks, Ujjwal, for this opportunity. It is a pleasure to talk to you, and I know we could have met in person, but thanks for this opportunity. Yeah. So I think for Ansys, I would say it officially. Maybe I don't know. You want to check personally also? I'll be happy to answer that also. For Ansys, we've been doing very well globally and specifically in Asia, and also very happy to say we are doing very well in Ansys India and my region, which is Singapore, ASEAN, and Australia, and New Zealand. And in fact, if you go to the transcript of the last quarter, our president and CEO and CFO did specifically mention about India also, because in the last quarter, we were peak of the pandemic. The second wave was very lethal, but even in that pandemic situation, Ansys did very well in our region, and we overachieved our plan quite handsomely. Yeah.
Great. And I have been going through following Ansys closely. I saw you have partnership with Rockwell Automation recently, Zemax also, and SBC and at Japan. So can you elaborate a few of these, like especially the Rockwell Automation, the partnership with Rockwell Automation?
Yeah. So basically, yeah. First of all, again, you mentioned about some acquisition. Yeah, we did a few acquisitions this year also. Phoenix was one acquisition, and ZMAC, the one you mentioned, which is another acquisition. As far as what you mentioned about Rockwell, we have tied up with them on the manufacturing solution. So like a lot of companies are going for a full integration, where manufacturing integration of the entire PLM and simulation technology is very important. And we felt like tying up with Rockwell Automation, which is very good and worldwide known on the manufacturing side, because simulation technologies are used on the manufacturing side also. So partnering them on the hardware and some of the manufacturing solutions make a lot of sense. Yeah. Yes, so I think it's a good question. For Ansys, we basically categorize our customer into three segments. One is the enterprise and global customers. Then we have the strategic or mid-market accounts, and then what we call is, in India we call it SMB, we call it momentum. All these three markets are very important to us, and to cater to all the customer segments, we have appropriate programs and go-to-market strategies. So what you mentioned is part of our global strategy, and in our APAC strategy also we have our strategy for strategic customer or mid-market or and SMB or momentum customers also.
Right. So, okay, being the leader, the market leader for the simulation markets, I would like to know what are your observations for the recent happenings through this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. What are the things that you have learned? What are the things that you have observed during this pandemic for the simulation market?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and there is a reason why Ansys has done so well. We did very well in the first wave 2020 also, and we are doing very well YTD till we have to still go. We are finishing the third quarter, and the fourth quarter is left, but on the third quarter we are very much on plan and progress. And one I think common theme throughout the industry we have seen is digitization, correct? The use of technology, correct? And not only for manufacturing or simulation company like Ansys, but everybody. We are doing this interview today. You would have been at Ansys office, or we would have met in a hotel, or we would have met at ARI. But I think there is a huge spurt in the digitization or using technology. So coming back to simulation and manufacturing, a lot of the key staffs are still working from home, And if you look at simulation is very computer graphics intensive, correct? So most of these high power computing machines or what we call it HPCs are there in the office. But today, thanks to cloud and our partnership with Microsoft, and of course we have partnership with other cloud partners also. But because our technology is available on cloud, and we give all kind of flexibility and elastic license to the customer. The engineers, simulation engineers, were very quick to adopt and use their home desktop and laptops, and continue to do this high power or high compute analysis also. And because of this, simulation did increase. So
Hmm.
that is continue to be used quite extensively. But second more important point, which you will visualize, you have done some technology and manufacturing articles, that today all the industries have realized that we cannot be wasting too much time in making physical prototype. So
Hmm.
suppose we want to make launch a car or a product in the market. Earlier, companies used to do multiple prototypes and do multiple testing.
Yeah.
Now, today, if you look at Lucid example, which is one of the first electric car to give 500 plus miles, mileage, their CTO, if you look at their interview, they are saying today they have so much confidence on ANSYS simulation fidelity and accuracy of the result that they only make a prototype in the last stage just for compliance reason or for some government or in
Hmm.
India like approval from ARI. So, because people are not making a lot of prototypes, I gave you an example for car, but it is same example for laptops or mobiles or any other technology piece of technology or product. People are making less prototype, less number of prototype, hence able to do things faster, and they have full confidence on the accuracy and the results of simulation technology like ANSYS. So that is another reason why still working from home, people were able to use ANSYS technology more. So one was I told you about cloud. The second was cut down in prototypes, and the third is ANSYS has come out with what we call as ANSYS Learning Hub. So a lot of training content and training module, and we have some flexibility on giving customer licenses as per they need at the peak demand.
Hmm.
So all these three combination put together has helped ANSYS to do very very well in this pandemic time. And the fourth reason, which is related to the first point which we discussed, because people were using technology more, electronics business, semiconductor business is doing very, very well across the world.
Yeah.
People are buying laptops at home. People, it was a luxury for a middle class or a low middle class family, but people are buying mobiles. People are buying, all the electronic communication tools. People are there is a huge spurt and growth in the semiconductor and electronics industry, and they are one of our biggest buying customers. So that also increased the demand, and plus we saw healthcare becoming very very important. So that was another area where customers started buying more technology, like for whether to for vaccines or manufacturing or drug manufacturing. Again, that's where ANSYS is used. And in this another industry which started doing very very well is all the startup community.
Yeah.
So the EV startup companies, the ADAS startup companies, the drone companies, they have started doing well, and this combination of all these 3 4 points which I mentioned has helped ANSYS to do very very well globally in APAC and in India also.
And also, I believe that because of the simulation markets, the product to market, the inception to market period has reduced, right? Right.
shrunk down shrunk
Yeah.
down dramatically, because now you are with the fidelity and accuracy of simulation model, people have more confidence, and they are making less prototype meaning less time to market. The
Mm.
other thing is, the speed of the design has increased because now HPC and cloud is available. So the design cycle times have also reduced dramatically. And
Right.
Ansys has acquired so many products that in one platform you can do all kind of testing and simulation, which they have to go to various other tools and do training and all. So I think yes, you are right. Product lifecycle time has decreased dramatically.
So I would like to add on, sir, since you have mentioned about different verticals like the healthcare, the education, not just the manufacturing. I would like to hear some of the case studies that you have come across in, for example, the healthcare. In healthcare, how a simulation platform has improved the inception to market of a certain drug. Do you have any case study of such like that?
Yeah, so I think Ujjwal, this is a good question, and I would not specifically name the company in India, but you know all the top vaccine manufacturer company in India and pharmaceutical company. So let me talk an example about vaccine, correct? So typically, you kind of are trying to say you're trying to come out with a vaccine for COVID or some other infectious disease. Now, the scientists are always under the pressure to come out with a vaccine fast. So in the lab or in the trial, they can control the vaccine quality and homogeneity of the different ingredients they work. In a lab environment, it is very easy to come out with a perfect vaccine, a test vaccine, and the quality of the vaccine may look good. But the problem comes when you have to mass scale it and produce that vaccine in millions. So
Right.
when you try to um, manufacture a vaccine or a drug in millions of quantity, that that is a totally different problem than producing or making a vaccine in a lab, correct?
Right.
And then there is the manufacturing processes there, the mixing properties, the reactor, the mixing, all this become, and even a small change in the ingredients or mixing not happening properly, or the thermal or the temperature of
Mm.
the reactor and the manufacturing process, cleanliness, all these plays a very important role. So what is happening to scale it? This is called scale up production. So
Mm.
from lab to scale up production, biopharmaceutical and vaccine manufacturing companies are using simulation based method, to improve the quality of the mixing in the bioreactor, and the homogeneous mixing and the thermal impacts the quality of the vaccine quite
Right.
dramatically.
Right.
So and again, these vaccines are produced in batch. So the batch processes, and how do you maintain that manufacturing process quite accurately, is where simulation, you can do all the testing and mixing. We have some technologies and some of the modules of Ansys, including the fluid technology, which is one of our flagship product, CFD, and some of the other technologies which are there. They are used quite extensively to take the vaccine or a drug from a lab to a manufacturing process. Yeah? So you cannot have a failure and the quality. And again, transportation becomes very important. We have some lot of international and international customer where the vaccines needs to be flown in in a particular temperature, and the impact and drop test, all these things have to be taken care. So I think yes, ANSYS has played a very important role, and is playing a very important role in all the pharmaceutical drug and
Mm.
vaccine production across the globe and in India.
And another thing I believe is that because of the simulation platform, we have reduced the number of human trials as well. Means the
Oh,
human
oh, that
trials.
is that is one of my favorite topic. We call it in silico trials.
Yeah. Huh.
Uh, yeah, and there is a time, and you have written many articles on IoT and Industry 4. And we have come to a stage where why do we have to do trials on humans and animals?
Exactly.
Why can't we do trials on digital twins?
Mm.
And ANSYS has got fantastic technologies and a leader in digital twin, and in silico trial is very important, and also custom drug or custom medication will become very important. So you are taking a pharmaceutical medicine, if you have a temperature, whether your how your body react, you are taking 500 mg, 250 mg, there's a child or a teenager or a senior citizen, everybody is taking a one particular
Mm.
over the counter medicine, but
Right.
it may have different reaction to a person. And with in silico trial and use of simulation technology, we are confident that there will be times where where drugs will be custom made for people. We are
Mm.
already doing that for dental surgery,
Oh.
hip replacement, hip joint. Because suppose you are a teenager has a bike accident and he's broken his hip, he cannot be given a standard hip replacement of a senior citizen or some other person, because the density and the fitment and everything is different. So you have to come out with a uh, custom orthopedic solutions
Mhm.
in this area. So I just gave you some example of dental and orthopedics where custom medical solution is already used, but I'm very confident in future times the drugs
Right.
will also be. We have a lot of case studies internationally, especially from Europe, where in silico trials have been very useful for treating very life-threatening disease, including heart and brain issue. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. When these questions comes up, I have observed and I have seen that the countries which use high percentage of their GDP in research and development
Mm.
are are big users of simulation technology. Very clearly, if you pull out, I think there is a site which publishes. I think, if I am not mistaken, it should be UNESCO, but I stand to be corrected. We can
Right.
do it. They publish globally the R&D spend percentage of GDP. So
Mm.
if you look at it very clearly, US, Japan, uh, Korea, South Korea, if I'm not mistaken, South Korea is well above 4% of their GDP they are using on R&D. I think Japan and US are on high two or mid threes, but with all respect, and we are coming, India is coming slow and steady. We use less than 0.07%, less than 1% of our GDP in R&D.
Oh. Oh.
And if you were to ask me, Rafiq, which are the countries which are doing very well in simulation, it'll be very easy for me to map. Uh, map that with the percentage R&D spend,
Yeah.
so I think India is a great nation. We are all changing very fast. We are very good in service, but we all know there's a separate topic and discussion why we are not good in product. Yeah?
Yeah.
Introducing products. So I think, but there is, having said so, there is a lot of change happening. I think I am very confident and proud of the startup, young
Mm.
generation startup community, and Prime Minister's new mission of Atmanirbhar Bharat. These kind of initiatives will drive a lot of local product development, and I think currently, the young generation, the second generation in the small and medium manufacturing, or even in the big companies, the new generation leaders are ready to adopt technology and invest in R&D. Otherwise, we were good in manufacturing and service and all. Of course, we can't be as good as China. We have long way to go, but we can manufacture millions of scooters and a lot of cars,
Right.
but we need to design them also. And here I want to say I'm proud of what our aerospace defense segment is there. There are a lot of, I may not be able to mention all the labs and the projects, but
Mm.
our scientists in all these defense lab, multiple defense lab, are 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 very ahead, and world class engineers and scientists are there who are using ANSYS simulation technology very well. Unfortunately, our Indian defense and scientists need more high computing
Yeah.
machines to cut down the cycle time. And for defense security reason, there is still a perception of not using cloud. But there can be a private locally hosted cloud also, and maybe the some of the defense labs can come together and have their own HPC clusters, which can be
Exactly.
used by different labs. So there are many solutions, but I think that's one area. If our defense labs work on how do we give them more compute power, so they are able to do much better job and execute the project faster. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So I think the ecosystem there are various aspects of how they can scale and become successful. But one of the consistent problem which we have been seeing in the startup again, and we have done a lot of sessions, webinars for startup community in the last few months, and especially during pandemic, uh, that lot of still the budding startup and engineers are still trying to spend a lot of time on prototyping,
Mm.
and there is a little bit gap over here because the VCs, the investors want to see the prototypes, and I think we have to mature like in aviation industry, like the bird strike of the aircraft wing, is today now can be approved through a simulation thing. There are a lot of FDA in pharmaceutical, in silico trials, in automotive industry, that if you are you giving a results in a simulation that can be approved. So I think that is one area, and I have seen some quite educated and qualified VCs. They if they are sync up and they appreciate simulation technology, I have seen dramatical improvement in uh, time to release the product and cut down the cycle time using simulation technology. So that is one area
Mm.
where the startup community still need to go with digital validated models, and the VC community needs to step up on that. Uh, The second one is naturally is from our side. We are giving them initially we were finding that the startup community was finding our software very expensive to
Okay.
buy. We have in the last few years we have come out with what we call it as a startup bundle,
Mhm.
and we have a lot of flexibility, and we give them a lot of modules and packages in this startup bundle,
Okay.
and so that has helped a lot. And the third thing is again the compute power. So unlike defense industry, I think the startup and young engineers are they are fine to use cloud technology. So I think that's the area they should use cloud technologies. They should push vendors like us, Ansys, to give us startup bundles, give them all the support, training required, uh, and but they should trust the fidelity and accuracy of simulation model to cut down the cycle time. And the excellent example, which is very well published, is the ventilator project done through Noka Robotics with
Yeah.
IIT Kanpur. I think it's a success story. There is a book available on Amazon also, and that is a very good example of how an academic institute and a startup incubation center came out with
Mm.
a world-class ventilator in less than 90 days. So I think that's a great example because they use ANSYS technology quite extensively. Yeah.
Right. And how that technology was also adaptable, scalable for different industries. Means I have seen various automotive industries converting their production line into a ventilator line.
Yeah, of course. At that time, I think a lot of companies did their bit, and but it's good. We should be proud that we have a world-class ventilator made in India, which is quite price competitive and doing very well. Yeah, and
Yes.
now Ansys did partner with a lot of startup academia and companies for the oxygen plants and cylinders also. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I'll come to the final part of my interaction here. I would like to know. So we are seeing a lot of talk about the 5G technology, the artificial intelligence, the augmented reality, AR, VR. So from your perspective, what's down the line? 5 years down the line, what's in store for us? 5 years down the line.
Yeah, so like that's a very good question, and nobody can ignore the technologies which you mentioned, and what Ansys has been doing is we are looking at our Noah's Ark of the product and technologies we have currently. What is the requirement for the industry now? But we are also looking at what the industry will require 5 years and 10 years from now. So if you look at Ansys product organic and inorganic growth strategy, like how we are developing our existing product and how we are acquiring technologies. As you may be aware, we have acquired more than 23, 25 companies over the last few decades, and now last few years we are every 3 4 companies are acquired every year. So our pace, so we are looking for inorganic growth and organic growth. So the technologies which you mentioned, like all of them, Ansys cannot overnight develop grounds up. It will take time. So we are picking up the best technologies available in the market. And yes, so what we are looking is if we have to break the future technologies from ANSYS point of view, of course, there is a large ecosystem of what technology is there, 5G, autonomous vehicles, AI, ML, and you mentioned all that. So ANSYS is looking at the core technology. One is that will be our foundation, which we think will continue to grow at a CAGR rate of 8%.
Okay.
But so this is one which is our bread and butter and flagship. We are doing very well. What ANSYS is doing on some of the technologies and the futuristic thing, you mentioned, we have clubbed it into two pieces. So foundation plus what we call as the emerging high growth market. So when
Okay.
we say emerging high growth markets, it includes electrification, it
Mm.
includes autonomy. And when we talk about autonomy, it is not just autonomy, is not just meant for cars. It is for aerospace, defense, industrial, drones and everything. So electrification, autonomy, then 5G, which you mentioned that, and IoT, industrial IoT and AI ML also comes in that. So these are piece of our what we call as emerging high growth uh, markets. We have invested a lot of technologies in that. We have developed a lot of in-house technologies, and we have acquired a lot of technologies in that. And this will grow, we feel, about 18 to 20% next 4 to 5 years. Then the third piece, which we call as the adjacencies, the new adjacencies, which
Okay.
will develop around our core foundation technologies, what we call as the design exploration. Because design, like normally simulation is used by simulation engineers, but
Mm.
tomorrow we feel that even design engineers doing front end quick analysis, they will use simulation a lot. And here our partnership with PTC will help us a lot, and it is helping us a lot. So a lot of engineers have now started using simulation. So design exploration, then additive manufacturing, which is an extension of the current technologies which we are talking about.
Mm.
And the third piece in the new adjacencies which we are talking about is digital twins. So I think we spoke about digital twins of humans. There will be digital twins of high industrial, expensive products where you cannot have a downtime, like a generator
Mm.
or aircraft engine. You cannot have a aircraft engine going down
Yeah.
in mid-flight. So digital twin, the continuous update on what is happening on the physical product and what will go wrong, and the ability to predict based on the digital twin is, all these three: design exploration, additive manufacturing, and digital twin are part of our new agencies. So yes, we are ready with all these technologies we have, and we have a lot of partners. Also here, we are working with a lot of partners. So we feel that the space of the core simulation market, which may be around currently maybe 10 billion,
Mm.
with all the emerging and the new agencies, we feel should go about to 25, 26 million by 2026. Billion, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I got that. I got that same report from marketsandmarkets.com, the 26 billion figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So
think we are very bullish about these, the other two markets which I spoke and which covers all the technology you mentioned. We have boxed them into three pieces because that's how internally we are working there. I think sustainability and environmental impact will play a very important role, and product development companies are getting more sensitive on this. What is happening with electrification and autonomous.
yeah.
The key reason why it is apart from safety is environmental impact. So I think sustainability and environmental impact will play a very important role,
Mm.
and all the industry has to play a very important role. ANSYS will play a very important role, and we are focusing a lot, and we are working very closely with our customers how to make their product environmentally friendly and sustainable. How do we build our academic institution and make future engineers ready for all these technologies, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because our academic institutes need to pace up. I know the IITs and ISCs and the top regional engineering colleges are well ahead on technology curves, but how do we make engineering institute in tier 2 and tier 3 cities and some private and autonomous engineering institute and the students to adopt uh, these technologies early, so they are learning the latest technology, and when they come out they are already ready, and or while they're studying itself they are already contributing in that. And ANSYS is personally I'm very passionate about this skill development and working closely with academia. If you're following me on LinkedIn, you will see a lot of investment from ANSYS and our focus on building the academia in India. And I think not just ANSYS, but I feel all the other manufacturing and industry
Yeah.
should focus on improving our academic institution. And a great example can be Germany, where in any engineering college, the German professor is not only teaching students, but he's wearing another cap of working with the industry and doing industry projects. So I think that is one area we need to improve in India. And on Make in India, I would say that we should not just come out with the slogan of Make in India. I think we should design and innovate in India also. So I think you are well averse of that. So about this point, that how do we that's the first point we discussed about investing in R&D, correct?
Hmm.
How can we come close to Korea? Meaning Korea is look at 5G, like we have some customers over there, Samsung and other LGs and all these companies, you see, and the chip manufacturers over there. The the focus and investment which is happening in R&D or in Japan or not US, North America on semiconductor and other technologies is remarkable,
Oh,
and I think that's one area we need to improve on. Yeah,
yeah. R&D, R&D, R&D all the way.
yeah, yeah. Not just
So,
to get some tax benefit, but genuine R&D. Yeah? And the industry should collaborate with academia, because there is a sense, this I should not be quoted, but if the company is also doing all the R&D, then there is some selfish motive. But if the academia starts doing R&D,
hmm,
then it will be like for larger cause and the benefit of the country and industry at large. When the company alone tries to do an R&D, it may be very business centric R&D, which is fine. But if you want to come out with some, you know, uh, like the ventilator project. I don't think so. An Indian company would have done that, but academia did that. So I think academia should start playing also a key role in R&D. Yeah? And it is not the responsibility of just the academic institution, but the responsibility of the industry also to enable them. We are also working with SAE on agricultural TIFAN. There is another competition for like SAE Baha. There's another competition for agricultural. So we are working with SAE off highway. So yes, I'm very excited about all the new generation youngsters and engineers, and I think the attitude and the mood and the thought process of a lot of the autonomous and good engineering colleges is changing, where they are coming out with this kind of all different kind of encouraging their students to take part in various competition and get a bit into startup mode, incubate them. I think I'm very, very excited about India. I think when we are talking of startup, India being one of the top 5 startup, 3 4 years back it was just B2C and
hmm,
internet e-commerce site related, but
right.
and of course India has done very well with respect to all of them. But what I'm excited since pandemic is is the engineering startup community is thriving
Right.
and doing very well, and I'm very excited about that, and we are working with a lot of these startup companies in India. Yeah, I'm very proud of that.